This is Reah, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics, including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more.
For the past, I don't know, solid month, maybe 2 months, I've been in the gym not every day, but I've been 5 to 6 days a week. I'm in the gym and I'm up to like a full hour of like good workout now. And I wouldn't have done that before because I was working so much. I was eating at Zaxby's all the time, like all these habits that not having all that stuff to focus on, I've been able to focus on my health. And, turning 40, it's also like this slap in the face, like, okay, you're 40 now and there's still habits that are unhealthy that you practice every day. And you need, like if 40 is not a good time to get your shit together, I don't know what is. Like I don't have a lot of habits. I don't really drink. I don't go out. I don't spend money on crazy things. Like I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. But even with all that said, the things that I quit doing years ago, there's still things that at 40, overeating and different things that like I should have been focused on that I wasn't because I was so busy. And so, even feeling that way, it really has been, I say these last couple months have been a real eye opener in that aspect. Like I'm really focusing on my health now, and I wasn't doing that before. So as difficult as it is to say, okay, well, I personally, personal funds, I really don't have much of anything from month to month. I'm still able to pay for my office. Still able to pay Noah's tuition, and that's about it. Actually, Quentin paid for my office this last month because I got groceries and stuff. But it's also humbling to me that like, okay, well, I also have to realize too in this time, like, I don't have to worry about a place to live. I don't have to worry about rent. I don't have to worry about bills. I don't have to worry about mortgage. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, but for somebody who's used to taking care of all that stuff, it's hard to then in turn watch my husband struggle because he's carrying my financial load, now he's struggling. And, then there's kind of that, like that makes me feel bad. It makes me feel like I'm not contributing, if that makes sense. Which, he will tell me like, you take care of the house, you take care of the kids, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're contributing. And I know that. But it's such a big difference. I'm not used to being like a stay-at-home mom. You know what I mean? Like I'm not used to not putting in. So I think that's been the most difficult thing for me is like I lost control of something. In the grand scheme, that's really what I lost control of this business. I lost control of my finances. And I think for someone who is used to being in control, I'm used to being in control of my household, my finances, my, whatever. For someone who's used to being in control, to lose it, feeling like I lost control, that is the hardest parts. And
I get that. Control.
It doesn't take care of all the take care. It doesn't take away from all the positive things. Like if you would ask me before, okay, focus on your health or have this much money, I probably would have said, well, keep that money. My kids need things, blah, 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 whatever. But in reality, it's really not worth the money to not be able to take care of myself physically. So if you're asking me if I had to choose between the two, I would take care of myself physically and emotionally, So it wasn't my choice, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise. Plus I mean, I was putting so much into this person's business and I was not her employee.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't, she like throw me $75 here and there to go do little things, but this time spent on the phone, there were times where my husband is like, really, you're working right now? We're at, Noah's soccer game or whatever, like be in the moment. And I'm like, I'll be back in a second. I gotta take this. And I was doing work for someone who wasn't paying me for it. You know what I mean? So it's like in hindsight, it it wasn't the money was nice, but it wasn't beneficial for me as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's still difficult to, like it's like this mourning process, but you know,
I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, what is given and what it happens, it happens for a reason. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
and I mean, sometimes it's it's like sometimes it's like sometimes we hate it, or sometimes at the beginning we hate it,
Yeah.
but then after we start to open our eyes to things, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like one thing that my therapist told me was usually nobody makes a change unless if something drastic happens to
Yes.
prevent that change,
Yes. Hmm.
because it's like it's our human nature to push our limits, and then once we hit it, that's when something happens.
Hmm.
And I think that's a very important thing to have self-awareness about. Like I
Yeah.
mean, like I feel like if the building was on fire, that would probably convince me to go outside. You know what I mean? Like I mean, push to
Right.
the extremes because then either way I'm dying. You know what I mean? Like I mean,
But that's a good point to make too, though. And even when it comes to, because we all have different fears, phobias, um, things that simply just make us nervous, or um, things that we just don't like in general, whether it be an actual fear, whether it be something just makes us uncomfortable. We all have these things, and to one person that might sound crazy or simple or whatever, and but to the person experiencing, like it's a real thing. Like,
right. I mean, the thing about is when you're in it
yeah,
feels like it's like people in therapy, you'll notice your progress because you're in it all the time, every day. You are you every day. You are
yeah,
in here every day. So you keep
hmm,
noticing the bad things you're thinking about and the bad things, feelings that you have. So you go up to your therapist a year later, be like, I don't feel like I've changed at all. And your therapist
yeah,
looks at you like, are you kidding me? And then they start telling you where you have improved on. And then one thing that I find is a great quote, is it that you're not getting any better or that you just keep raising the bar?
oh, I really like that. I really
Like
like that.
you may not be reaching where you are because you keep raising where you're trying to reach to. And so a
And
little
we should.
small.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, as
I
we
really
should.
like that. Yeah,
And I think the thing about it, sometimes we may raise it so little that we don't notice the bar just keeps rising and rising and rising. Like like at the beginning, my bar was just to go outside to get my mail. But then, like I would then now I can be in a field out for hours. I can be out there for hours listening to music. If I can be out there for hours if I'm not bored
yeah.
or if I don't get too hot, I need to come in for some water. I could legit be out there for hours.
Okay. But that's improvement, I feel like, since the last time we talked.
Exactly. Like I want to be outside all the time now. I mean, still the distance from my apartment is such a huge thing. Being in cars is such a huge struggle.
Right. Right.
Whatever. That's still hard. Like I can't even get into one right now. And I know that part's still a struggle, but I have made strides in other ways. And I'm like, and I went up to my therapist, be like, I just feel like I'm not getting anywhere with this agoraphobia. But then it's like I can be outside for hours. Like I'd be fine.
Yeah.
And like whatever. And so it's like, yes, there's like, and the thing about it is, I think that sometimes we may not think we're getting better, but maybe we're looking at the wrong thing of getting better at. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm over here focusing, I can't get in a car, but look where I have made progress in over here. And I made
Right.
progress in mentally, and I made progress in coping. I made progress in all these other things, but I'm so focused on the one thing that I'm not.
Right. No, that oh man. Like it's it's certain things that you hear and you're like in a different situation, I would be like, well, yeah, obviously. But in this situation, hearing it with, what I'm going through and everything, that is just really profound because it's like kind of because it is like a, well, duh.
Well, duh.
You
See?
know,
Exactly.
but it's the thing that you need to be reminded of when you're not thinking about it. Like it,
Hmm.
and like it's not common sense because you're not thinking about it. But any other time, if it was a different scenario, I'd be like, well, yeah, I
Well,
already
yeah,
knew that. I
exactly.
knew.
Exactly. Because the thing about it is, well, all those advices that people give you that are like, well, duh, are the thing is that they are profound, but it's when you're stuck in your shit that's profound. It's not when
Yeah.
you are just chilling or you're having just a little bit of a struggle. I'm like, oh, it's just one of those depressive episodes. I'm used to that. That's not much of a struggle for me. And somebody
Yeah.
just says, hang in there, and I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm just gonna hang on a fucking newsstand. That's what I hear. You know what I mean? Like, like it's just like not dip Captain Obvious. But
Yeah.
when you are sincerely struggling and you just are like at your end or whatever, sometimes hearing hang in there is like, okay, this person really wants me to be here and to just trust them
Right.
a little bit longer, to trust the process and whatever, because that's what my therapist have said, like, can you just hang in there just for like these days, or at least until I see you next week? Can you please just promise me that I'll see you next week and that we will, continue? Because it can really sound from concern. It doesn't sound like a poster board, like, hang in there, like everything's all lottie-dottie, just hang in there like this cat is on a tree. Like, come on. No, but said with actual sincerity, with
Yeah.
actual care and concern, those poster boards saying aren't poster boards. They're actually coming from their true feelings and their passion, and like they want you to be here.
Well, yeah, and it's a reminder that like, oh, you know what? People care about me. So like I have to get through this because they want me to also, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I think I struggle with. I struggle with that a lot because I'm like, because there are times where when people are like, I don't want you to like kill yourself or this or that. And
Right.
I'm like, well, that's the most selfish thing I could hear you t say. It's like, and I know it's not meant to be that way, but that's what
Right. You're
I
like,
hear.
this isn't about what you want.
Exactly. Like, I mean, the thing about it is, like, I use this as an example because I know us humans, we are worth more than a bird. But, like, if you hit a bird and you see the bird struggling, what is the humane thing to do?
Yeah. I it's difficult though because I don't want to be the one to actually end that bird's life. But if an animal is struggling and you know it's not going to survive, the humane thing to do is to kill it so that it doesn't lay there and suffer.
Right.
But no, you don't want to be the reason it actually stops. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's what I understand. But then, and I'm not saying don't stop people from killing themselves. I'm not saying that. I'm just, oh my
It
God.
kind of sounds like that's where we're going, but we're
I
not.
know. Because what I was about to say is, then why don't you just let the person do it themselves? Like, I mean, we're not asking you to do it to us. Just let us
Okay.
do it.
Because unless you have a veterinarian standing beside you, probably you can't save that animal. But if you could save the animal, you're going to help it live, right? So if you know that you can help save that person emotionally, mentally, physically, whether it be a doctor, a therapist, whatever, you're going to try to keep them here so that you can do that.
By the way, let me repeat, that was not me telling people to go kill themselves. I am just saying, I am making that fucking clear as fucking day. I am just playing a little bit of devil's advocate or for my avocation, whatever the fuck it is, whatever. I'm not a devil. No, I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying. Whatever.
Keep digging that hole deeper and deeper there, buddy.
Dear Lord God, help me.
For my advocate, I mean, I'm not the devil. I'm just saying here.
I mean, if you say I'm doing devil's advocate, then does that mean that you're a satanist?
Oh my gosh. Pause, please.
Yeah, we can take out some of the stuff I just said too.
Half of this video is going to be me walking around the table. Okay, what are your thoughts on assisted suicide? Now, I asked that because we mentioned like this was not at all the topic I had planned for today, but it's fine. Because you mentioned like the bird scenario, which I think for animals makes sense, right? Now, say also because there's no like, okay, well, that's not true. There's not as enforceable of laws concerning things like that with animals. Now, there's certain places you can't go and like shoot deer or fish or hunt or whatever.
Yeah, but then
But
again, you're not also in pain either, so.
right. But I feel like a bird or a small animal like that is not going to really be a legal debate. Also, because, well, who's going to see you? If someone comes across a dead bird, they're not going to be like, "Oh shit, we got to call the police and have court about this." You know what I mean? Like, who did what's this bird? So when it comes to certain types of animals, it's not as like governed. But when it comes to like
The
that kind of
American bald eagle is protected by law.
yeah, yeah. So it's not so even that is not even so like cut and dry across the board. But it made me think about like assisted suicide because I think there are certain instances where it should be legal. Um, but I am also for the death penalty. So, you know, maybe I just feel
Not really,
like
it's not really, I mean, we can have a discussion about it, but I agree on both things. Like, I mean, the thing about it is with assisted suicide, I live with disorders that are okay, okay to, like, you can actually get approved for assisted suicide with the disorders that I have. And one of them
really,
is BPD. At least in Canada. At least in Canada, I believe. If I remember, it's been a while since I've seen something about it, but I
let me look
believe,
this up.
yeah, look it up, where if you have BPD, that you can do an assisted suicide for that. And that you can, like, I believe, like, it's a long process and you have to be a citizen of Canada to be able to do it. But like, you would have to change citizenships, you would have to do everything too, and you would have to go through, like, you basically had to be considered you're untreatable basically with your BBD. That means you have tried basically a lot of medications for it. You have tried DBT, you've done CBT, you've done every type of thing you can. And if
Hmm,
your BPD is just unbearable to live with, then you can do an assisted suicide in
okay.
Canada. But double check that, like facts check that, but I'm pretty sure because one of my friend is trying to sign up for that. Like she's trying to do it herself.
Damn.
Yeah, because and the thing about it is, I can understand why. Like that's what I'm trying to say. My disorder that I have is brutal. Like, and you can use DBT skills. You can use what you can do, and you can use medications and stuff. But this disorder is just it's not exactly controllable by those things. They can make them a little bit
Yeah.
more bearable.
Right.
but it can go into remission. It really can. But if you have it to where it's just so bad, like you have the amount of like trauma that I had or whatever, like I had probably one of my worst episodes last week, a BPT episode. I had one of the worst episodes you could probably have as one. As a BPD person, as one, but as a BPD person. And it got really bad to the point where the next day I had a full on pounding headache, like severe headache from just the amount of like pressure in my head, the amount of crying, the amount of like just wanting to end your life. Like there was so much happening in that episode that I don't think anybody could ever understand it unless that they've been through it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
The thing about it with BPD is it doesn't have to have a big trigger. It doesn't have to be something big. The one thing my therapist has said is it must be exhausting that you are a hairline away from an episode. And
Right.
that's all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying is not controllable. What I'm saying is it can get to the point of uncontrollability. An episode can. And sometimes you're able to slow it down. Sometimes you're able to not the episode to be so bad. I have done that in the past where it's like, okay, I can use skills. I can incorporate something right now so that it doesn't become so bad. But one thing that's fucked up about it is that sometimes you're just not able to stop it at all. Sometimes you just from 0 to 100. Now,
Right.
sometimes the PPD can go from a 0 to 60 in a second, but you still have that 40 to work with. Like to not let it get past that. And so I just don't think people understand that. So, and I can understand why people with my disorder and why I have wanted to just escape from it, to get away from it, from this feeling. And it's like, now, how can I continue to move upon this world? Because, the world tells you, don't ask the world to conform to you. Don't let the world be in charge of your triggers. And that is very fair. That is absolutely fair. So,
I mean, I understand both sides, right? And I'm gonna have to end this meeting and start another one because for some reason it gave me like 10 minutes. I think it's because I stopped paying for it. So
yeah, yeah.
oh, but I can see both sides, right? I have never been suicidal.
Uh-huh.
Now, I have a few months ago had a thought that I don't know if I can get through this.
Mm-hmm.
This thing that I was going through. Like I am so devastated that I don't know that I want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, so I can't completely relate, and I'm not going to pretend to because that wouldn't be fair to you, right? Um, I can understand both sides. However, I can understand being in so much pain physically and emotionally that you just, I just don't see another way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also understand, okay, from a psychological point of view, here are ways that we can work through these things. What can we focus on in the future that is positive? These different kind of things. I can understand both points. Um,
I think the only thing I would say about focusing on positives for the future is that if you want us to focus on the positive of the future, then why do you want us to keep living in the moment?
yeah,
And there's a lot of things that, like, while I understand, like, creating life worth living goals, like, I understand all that. That's great. That is great things to have. And sometimes it's hard to do that because you're one to create this life and you have it in front of you, but you're currently in a position where you can't give yourself that life.
I 100% understand that. 100%.
Yeah, so that's just like kind
Yeah.
of like one thing, like the agoraphobia. My life worth living goal is to leave this apartment, go out and do things, not with fear and pain. But I can't even.
But you have worked toward that, right? And had you not been here, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to work toward that. However, I do understand the feeling in the moment of, I don't see myself doing that. And even if I get a little bit closer, I'm not going to get all the way there. 100% understand that.
And like this also, I want to make it clear, I'm not making it to be like, yo, suicide is I'm
Right.
speaking from like how I'm not trying to be an advocate of suicide. I'm being an advocate of like feeling these feelings and wanting to feel, like not wanting to feel, but like wanting to do it, to want to kill yourself, to want to like just be done with everything because you're just done. Like, I mean, that's just what it comes down to because it's like life keeps showing you over and over again why it doesn't want you in it. Like why like it shows you time and time again. You start to wonder if there's something to it.
Um, but so going back to the debate on assisted suicide,
Mhm.
I personally, I think that assisted suicide, as well as the death penalty, should be legal. Legal. However, I think that it should be, specifically the death penalty. I think that should be something that is, you have to have proof without certainty. Legally, you're supposed to have proof without certainty, undeniable proof to convict someone of something, but as we all know, that is not always the case.
No.
Things like the death penalty, things like assisted suicide, I think that you should have to have undeniable proof, and that includes, for the death penalty, un there has to be certain, like, DNA evidence, there has to be recorded. And I don't just mean, I don't think anyone's verbal testimony should be allowed. I think there has to be undeniable visual proof.
But what if someone's visual is the only one that's left?
What do you mean?
What if a testimony is the only thing that's left?
Oh, the verbal testimony?
Yeah.
Then I don't think the death penalty should be allowed
So if
for
they,
verbal
so
testimony.
if there's a witness to
Hmm.
some multiple families being murdered
Hmm.
and raped and all that, but there's no video proof, no nothing.
There would also be some kind of corroborating DNA proof.
Not
You know,
necessarily if they were good at it.
then I don't think that that should be allowed for the death penalty, because
See,
what
that's
if
where,
this person has a vendetta against that person? What if, you know what I mean?
well,
If
if they just saw them murder all these families and raping them, I would hope that they have some vendetta against them.
I mean, okay, I'll give you an example. This is not a real life example, but it's the example that I could think of. Uh, there's a show that I'm watching, and on the show, there's a man and a woman in jail for bank robbery. They worked at the bank, but they did not commit the robbery.
Mhm.
There's another guy who has a recording. He kind of goaded them into agreeing, oh yeah, sure, like we did this robbery, ha ha ha. But you can tell in the recording clearly that they're not being serious, that they're being sarcastic. Now, he doesn't record what he says before he got them to say that. They
Right.
did say that, but he goaded them into it. Now, he didn't record that proof. All he has is his testimony, right? Um, in that instant, now this isn't a death penalty case, but it's just the reason I say there should be visual and DNA,
Mhm.
and not just a verbal testimony. Because if you take that man's verbal testimony, well, yeah, they did work at the bank. Yeah, they did say in response to you, oh yeah, sure, we did this, ha ha ha. But they didn't actually do it. So if you take just that verbal testimony, that's undeniable proof. You're framing them. But if you had video or like like an email chain or text communication or some other undeniable evidence in corroboration, okay. But
Yeah,
to
would be
say just you have this verbal testimony of you saying no, they were being serious when they said that, it's not true. You know what I mean?
right, but I mean, you could just about make a deep fake of anything too. I mean,
That's true.
I
That's
I
true.
mean, I guess it's just like that's
You
the
can
thing.
also create a text chain.
Everything is case, but everything's case by case. I mean,
Yes, yes,
because I
yes.
mean, the thing about it is if a 4-year-old girl says that she saw a man doing something, I'm sorry, that is enough evidence for me to be like, okay, you deserve the death penalty. Because usually a kid can't fabricate that shit in.
So I have a little bit different of opinion. I think you also need that undeniable DNA evidence or some corroboration because I know of, and I considered going to school for law, but I said, you know what, this shit's too complicated and people are too corrupt. It's just like politics. Like it's too much corruption. I don't want to do it. But there are proven cases where people have coerced children into saying things that didn't happen. And so
Right.
when you have just that verbal, it's too easy to not be legitimate.
Like I said, it's case by case. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've never, I I understand, and I do believe sometimes you need to have a witness. You know what I
But it
mean?
is also possible for people to cover their tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I get that too. But I think specifically when you're talking about death penalty cases, I think there needs to be, and there's supposed to be, legally there's supposed to be multiple avenues of undeniable evidence, but there's not always. But I think when you're ending someone's life in that manner as a
I just,
punishment, then there has to be undeniable outside of just verbal.
right, and
You've
I can
seen men
understand
go
that.
to
I
prison.
think with me, it's just a need for justice really kicks into me because
What? Go ahead.
I was gonna say because like I'm just saying, I'm not saying I agree there should be multiple avenues, but if there's one person that stands in between a mass murderer or a rapist or pedophile or whatever, even though those last two really don't get much of a punishment. I wish they did. But anywho, um, like if that one person stands between a mass murderer and society, like I would want that. Now I agree there should be multiple. I agree for the most part. But I also don't want them to get it wrong and have multiple people killed just because
Right, right.
killed. You
Well,
know?
and then there's also you can fabricate evidence. You can plant evidence.
Right.
It's such a
Well, the government's a very sneaky place. I mean, there's been cops who puts weed in the back of a car, or crack or whatever just to frame that person.
well, and there's also this. There is a heavier sentence for most narcotics than there is for rape of a child.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So I think that if it's, I think I agree case by case, right? I think that if you rape a child, you should get the death penalty.
Yes, agreed, 100%.
But so
And
for things
anybody,
like that,
and I'm gonna say this right now, anybody who has a problem with that is part of the problem. I'm sorry.
yeah. Now that doesn't mean that like we're gonna judge you if you don't agree with the death penalty. But anybody who has a problem that someone who intentionally harms children, especially rapes them, shouldn't be put to death, you got a problem.
Right.
You're,
And see,
you
the
know,
thing about it is, this is something I have a friend who's against the death penalty. And I'm like, so even if it's a pedophile who's been proven, multiple children, and she's like, I believe they could change.
They can change while they sit in jail for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
That's an alternative.
Right. But I'm like, I was like, so you rather them having to risk going back out there and hurting more children than, the death penalty, you know? And she was like, I believe that wholeheartedly can change. And I'm like,
There's there's no
no.
you don't accidentally or unintentionally rape someone,
Right.
specifically a child. You
Right.
don't, so you intentionally do that. So, and even
Rape
if you
is
only
the
did it
one,
once,
right.
so
Rape
what?
is the one thing there's no excuse for it.
Yeah.
Like there's like you know what I mean? Like that is the
Now,
one crime that there's no excuse for it. Because murdering you could be doing it in self-defense.
yeah.
Uh like stealing you could do it for food. Like all this there's actual valid reasons to do all these stuff.
Mhm.
There's no valid reason for rape.
Now, I do think that there are situations that deserve less harsh punishment than others. And that is, say, two consenting adults, right? Because this also has happened as well. Two consenting adults, one or both is drunk. Now, the debate can be, well, you should have conducted yourself in a manner that didn't put you in a capacity to not be in control of yourself. But say one or both of you is drunk or high or whatever, and in the moment you get into it, but then you're like, oh shit, what am I doing? And stop. I'm allowed to say, oh fuck, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore, and then you should stop. But there have been times where people have come and said after the fact, oh, I was drunk and he raped me because I was drunk. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but if you had sex with someone and regretted it later and they didn't actually rape you, you just regretted it, I don't think that person should be penalized.
But
If
you
you were
said stop during it, right? Is that what
like
you
it,
said?
like if you didn't stop, or maybe you said like no and then and went back into it. But if
That
you
was still a no. That's still a no.
mm,
That was
that's
still a
a
stop.
gray area for me.
Any no. Okay, well that might be a gray area for you, but not for me. If I am fucking a girl and I hear anything sounding like stop or no, I'm stop. I don't give a shit if she laughs after. I
Mhm.
don't care. To me, I hear that and I'm like, I need you to tell me right now, do you want to continue this or not? Because I am not continuing until you tell me that you really want this. And if you don't want it, that's fine. We can stop. I will be fine. I will
Yeah,
handle it. I can go if I'm really that horny, I'll go finish myself off. You know what I
mhm.
mean? But the moment I hear no, and that's why any future girlfriend or whatever, I'm gonna have a safe word being like, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like we're gonna have like a safe word because some girls do like to say, like, like please don't stop, And so sometimes I will hear like stop and then I
Yeah.
will stop, and I'm like, you like I don't want to
Like, what
ruin.
are you doing? Get back.
Right, exactly. Like, I don't want to ruin it, but if I hear, like, of course, if she says no, like, safe word is that trumps the safe word, in my opinion, too. Like, unless if that's part of a BDSM thing we're doing or whatever, but like,
Right.
no, no means no to me. I will stop immediately. I don't care what state I am in. I will always have that control. I don't give a shit. Like I just don't because I have been high before and I have had sex. I have
Right.
been whatever. And I'm just telling you, no, if I hear no and she giggles after, I will stop and be like, "Are you sure you want to
That's
continue?"
fair. That's fair.
But to be fair, I also will say one more thing to that. That's only if I'm in that situation. But I wouldn't put myself in that situation.
Right.
If they are not able to consent, if they are drunk, I'm not fucking them. I don't care how much they beg me. I am
Right.
not fucking them. because to me that is not consent.
Right. I agree. I agree. I've been on the end where I've been forcibly raped, and that was rape. I've
Right.
also been, I don't, I've been in a situation where I've been drunk and I've had sex, and the next day, not often, but been like, oh, you know what? I might not have done that had I been sober. I'm
Right.
not going to say they raped me
There
because,
is a difference between regret, like you said, there is, but you
right.
said in your thing that she says no and then laughs.
Yeah, like I think like
See, now to me,
if
that's, I could
if
see how.
you're if you're both incapacitated, if you're both drunk, high, whatever, and one person is like, no, I don't know, okay, like you change your mind and then you consensually go into it. I don't think that you can go back and then say, oh, he raped me or she raped me if you proceeded to consent. You know what I'm saying? Because it has happened to where, but I initially said no, but then I
But
still
usually
kept
the
making out
initial,
with him and allowed
the-
and didn't.
yeah, but usually the initial answer is the answer you go with. You
But
get what I
then
mean? Because that's what the person feels like.
yeah,
Like
but
that's
then
when
if
you
you
gotta be like, are
proceed,
you sure? Are you positive?
yeah,
Because that is at that point, like to me, if my first answer is no, take that answer. Like you know what I
that's
mean?
fair, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I mean, if I even if she's joking around and she says no, I'm like, that means there's a part of you that does not want to do this, and I do not want to mess with that because I want there to be safety and comfort. And I
yeah,
understand we're also talking about them being under the influence. So that means their prefrontal cortex is not working correctly either. So
right,
they could
right.
be saying no,
Neither person,
and they
yeah,
probably thought they were saying no. And then what they said after it, they could probably had not had the comprehension of what they were saying after it or
right,
the way
yeah,
of it. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so, case in point, like I understand what you're saying, but I also think that they just shouldn't do it at all. Like, I mean, that's honestly my opinion. If
yeah.
you and even if you both are drunk or whatever, one of you still has more awareness than the other.
Mm,
You don't think one could like
I mean, could, but not always. If you've both been doing the same thing and you both have the same tolerance,
yeah, okay, maybe not always, but I feel like
but most of the time,
most of the time there's a person who has more awareness than the other. Like, let's be honest here, you
yeah,
know? But the thing about it is, I know that I will never be in that situation. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything.
right,
And
right,
if the person I'm dating is, I'm not touching her. Like, I mean, I'll hold her hand, I'll kiss her, whatever, but we are
yeah,
not doing anything physical until I feel like they have the proper capacity to give me consent. So,
yeah. That's very respectable. Yeah.
like, I mean, um, but yeah, so anywho, we went, but I do believe
In
I
relation to the death penalty, yeah,
um,
regular topic.
damn it, ADHD at it again, damn. We should call
It's
this
a,
the ADHD. It's not the who of us, it's the ADHD of us. Whatever.
right,
But
for
like,
real, right.
but, but overall, I do believe there's such thing. Like, I'm one of the people that believes that Dexter is a much needed evil.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm one of those people that Dexter is a necessary evil in this world. And because
I,
the thing about it is Dexter always had utmost proof of everything.
hmm
He did his research. He makes sure it follows his line of code. He makes sure that they were doing it and that they had no choice to stop or to change. And then he would kill them.
yeah.
Beautiful.
But
Beautiful.
the illogicality, that is a word. I don't know if it is, but it's a word now. Illogicality of that is it's 9 o'clock. Of that is that if we had that in real life, two things, two completely different ends of the spectrum here. For one, the police would be made to look inferior because they follow a code that,
Works.
well, because the police in comparison follow a code that isn't solving the problem necessarily,
But they
unless you
aren't.
related the vigilante to the
Right.
death penalty, if you know relate it in that way somehow. But uh, because this vigilante is out here getting people off the streets like this system isn't doing.
They
But
aren't doing it.
on the flip side of that, the negative side of that is that if you allow this person to do this, then less capable and less logical people are also going to go do it and be doing it for the wrong reason.
Right, but that's why how you do it distinguishingly. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like I said, Dexter is a necessary evil. I'm not saying other vigilantes who are trying to do it have every right to do it. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that, you know? Like, but there's copycats of serial killers all over the world. Do you know what I mean? Who try to do that. That's already out there. That's nothing
Right.
new. But we
Yeah.
don't have one that's actually doing things the right way, like Dexter did. You know what I mean? And so I personally believe that if we had someone like Dexter's or even multiple of them who went by strict code, who got it done correctly, I think there would be less evil in this world.
Hmm.
I mean, but also, now let's go to assisted suicide.
Yeah.
I I believe that is necessary. And like I said in the whatever podcast one you're going to put this in, I said at some point that I live with a disorder that is brutal, that makes me want to die so many times. And that is a hell thing to live with. And
Yeah.
like it's like, and sometimes what sucks is the self-awareness that I have with it. Like I'm seeing myself do this shit. Why can't I stop it? Like
Right. Right.
it's like another thing takes over me, And sometimes you are treatment resistant, that
Right.
is a real thing.
Well, and it's like terminal cancer and different things. People sometimes want to die on their own terms.
Right,
Um,
exactly. That's what Robin Williams did.
yeah.
And one thing I will say is I am kind of sad a lot of suicide places are using his story to, like say don't do it. But Robin
Yeah.
Williams didn't do it out of mental health issues. He did it because he had a terminal illness and he wanted to go out while he still had memories. Like while he still
Mm.
had he did it because he was sick and he didn't want to have a life with that sickness.
Yeah.
Which,
I,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think that it should be up to the members of society. I
Right.
think that it should be up to that individual person. I do think that there should be, certain things in place so that not a bunch of people don't just start killing themselves because they're depressed. Because,
Right.
depression is not, in my opinion, a baseline for logical suicide.
Right.
Um, However, I don't think that it should be up to the family members and the friends of the person who has logical reasons for wanting
Would you
to
say
come.
would you
But
say would you
there
say
has to be, huh?
I was gonna say would you say BPD is a logical reason?
But that's not up to me to determine because that would be me as a friend. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you not here,
Right.
but I also don't live with what you live with every day. And it would be selfish for me to say, no, I have to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to support you and I'm going to tell you why I want you here. But if you sit me down and say, this is what I want, this is how I want my life to end, I have to accept and respect that decision.
Right.
Now, it's not that you're coming to me and say, I'm having a horrible fucking day and I don't want to be here anymore. Kill me.
Right.
Like so there has to be regulations, but I don't I think it should be up to the person. If you have a
Right.
terminal disease and whatever, hey, how about you spend the last days with your family? How about you let people know that you love them? How about those people spend time with you? And it is difficult for some people to accept.
Right.
They may need counseling,
Hmm.
but I think it should be that person's decision.
Right. And I wholeheartedly believe it. And I still believe that they need to go through a psychological test evaluation to make sure that they're in the capable mind of making that decision. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like, one thing that I wish people would understand too is how quickly disorders get thrown out into this world.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, have you watched Ginny in Georgia?
No, but I've heard my daughters watch it.
Right. Well, there's this character in season three, and people are saying that she's depressed, right? And she has depression because her brother's struggling with major depressive, disorder or whatever, or depressive episodes, whatever. I think he has major depressive disorder, honestly, but that's my opinion. But people are saying that she's depressed because, she has her friends casting her out and whatever. But I think one thing that because depression gets thrown out so much,
Yeah.
that I think people think that she's depressed. But what I see is a valid reaction of sadness to what's happening around her. Her 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 brother is depressed as fuck. She's worried about him. Her
Yeah.
friends are casting her out. Her best friend cast her out, but she's also dealing with her mom who's being a possible murderer. Well, she is, but like
Oh,
yeah. That's who mainly it's about, Ginny in Georgia, the mom who is the murderer. Whatever. Whatever.
did not know she was a murderer. I thought it was like what do you I've heard people relate it to fuck, what is that? Gilmore Girls. I
Not
heard
even
somebody
close.
no.
Yeah,
I've
not even.
never like I've walked in on the girls watching it, but I've never
Yes.
watched it.
It's a really
So
good
I
show.
might watch it now that I know there's murder and mayhem, because that's what I live for.
Oh, it's awesome because she has killed a couple of her husbands in the past for like one of them like try to touch her daughter in that way. Yeah,
I
see?
mean, I'm just saying.
Exactly, see? Oh, I love
Sounds
Georgia.
legit to me.
Georgia's fucking awesome. Like the first two seasons are so like cheesy and so like, whatever. It's great. But season three gets real serious and it's so fantastic. Like, is this the same like cringe show I watched for the first two seasons? Like but anywho, people are saying she's depressed, but to me, it looks like it's a valid reaction to everything she's going through and it's sadness, you
Hmm.
know? And
Yeah. It's
that
a society, it's like anxiety. Like, oh, like everyone has ADHD, everyone has anxiety. It's like this
it
wave of social media
exactly.
focus that
Exactly. And
everyone's
so that's
depressed.
why,
Yeah.
like, the reason why I brought that up is because that's why I want there to be a cycle evaluation. Make sure you have this thing that is actually treatment resistant, that's
Right.
actually like just nothing's working for you. Like, I feel
Right.
like my BPD, while DBT has helped a lot with it, it's still not a disorder that can be 100% treated. And I know that because I had my really bad episode on Friday after 2 years of DBT.
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? One of the worst episodes that I've had ever.
Yeah.
And so that tells me that even though I'm working hard on it and I'm still working hard at it, that I'm not 100%, I will never really get through it. You know what I mean? 100%. And that's okay. I have to radically accept that. And
Right.
and it can go into remission, but doesn't mean it won't come back. So with all that being said, assisted suicide, I believe, is needed in this world. Just because there's shit that a lot of people have to deal with that don't have to deal with it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah. It's commonly the opinion again of people who can't relate to it.
exactly. It's mercy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I could tell you if it was easier to do it, I probably would do it. Like, I mean, like, and that's me speaking in the position that I am now. Like, I would
Right.
be okay if that happened, like, but I also, right now, I still have enough hope to keep trying, you know what I mean? But
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that, as you know, obviously, because I love you. So, but we are at the end of our time, and I think this is a good kind of pausing point. But if anyone is struggling with this, of course, reach out to someone who they can trust and talk. And as always, if you have questions or comments or things that relative to this podcast episode that you would like for us to talk about in the future, email me, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment below. Let us know your thoughts, concerns, questions, comments, and all the things.
And I will also add, if you have any questions about my journey with suicide or any other mental health issues that I have spoken about, feel free to put in the comments and ask, and I will try to answer them in the best way I can. There's not really a lot of things that are off topic of what I've been through. And as you know, that I've been through a lot of different things, so I'm willing to speak about any of them. So
Perfect. All right. See you next time. Check us out on YouTube at Reah Higgs, ReahHagues. You can also keep up with us on Instagram at Just the Who Podcast.